Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with today's guest, but as always, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors. Remember, these are companies I used as an AD. They're all great companies. You should be using them too. So take 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our interview, and then go and visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. You've heard me say before, probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to their website today, schedule that live web demo. We also want to thank our good friends at Hometown. Hometown continues to change the game for schools with their suite of solutions that includes things like, big surprise, digital ticketing. But how about athletic website construction, fee-free fundraising? Whether you're an AD, a principal, or a coach, Hometown is going to show you how to save time, how to raise more money, and how to bring your community together. That's hometown.com. We also want to thank Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years. As an AD, I made sure we were a Huddle school, and our coaches, our student athletes, even our parents just loved the platform. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, and turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to say thanks to our good friends at Beacon and Vital Signs. Beacon has been helping schools share their legacies for the past decade. But now Beacon Creative is a lot more. It's actually a content creation service that supplies compelling stories for your digital platforms. We hear all the time that schools don't get to celebrate their students as much as they should. By using Beacon, they are going to put together those stories that celebrate your athletes, and you don't have to lift a finger. To find out more, just email John at beaconwalloffame.com. That's John at beaconwalloffame.com. We want to say thanks to Gipper. Gipper is going to help you become a social media marketing genius by engaging your community through social media, email, touchscreens, even on-campus TVs. Gipper's used and trusted by over 20,000 schools and athletic programs. It's professional graphic design made easy. Your school's doing great work. Don't let it go unnoticed. Gipper provides all the tools and the training to help you tell your story, engage your audience, and grow your brand. That's Gipper.com. We want to thank Home Campus. Scheduling, rosters, results. Home Campus is something you're going to use every day. Their eligibility and clearance platform alone is a game changer. Go to homecampus.com to get started. We want to thank Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. My assistant athletic director, along with thousands of others, got his master's through the Ohio program, and it was an incredible experience. He also was able to complete 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Let's also say thank you to Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and been disappointed? Those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. We used it at our school and had tremendous success, and so will you. The website is snapraise.com. Check out their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it, and it's Snap Raise. And we want to say thanks to our good friends at Athletic Surveys. If you've never used a survey to take the pulse of your student athletes, your coaches, how about your parents, you're really missing out. We use surveys for all of those categories and more at my school, and the feedback that we got, the data, is incredibly valuable. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create that custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. athleticsurveys.com. And with all of our sponsors, don't forget to mention you heard about it on the podcast. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to stay right in Florida today, going down the road to the Orlando area, and we're going to be visiting with LaKisya Killingworth. LaKisya has a tremendous background. I'm excited for her to share. She was a former athletic director. Currently, she's an assistant principal at Lake Nona High School. And again, that's in the Orlando School District, Orange County School District. LaKisya, welcome to the Educational AD Podcast.
Thank you, Jake. I'm looking forward to being on. I know that you always present some great material, so I'm looking forward to having a great conversation with you here.
I don't know about the great material. We always have great guests, and you're certainly checking all those boxes. So let's go ahead and jump right in. We always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us your bio. Where were you born? Where'd you grow up? Maybe take us up through your own high school and college days, and then we'll take a break. But what's the LaKisya Killingsworth origin story?
Oh, wow. Let's see. So, born in Sanford, Florida, a native, I feel like, of Sanford, Florida, Oviedo, and Deltona, because my family comes from all three of those areas. Went to Pine Ridge High School, did some great things there, put them on the map over in Deltona. Enjoyed all my time there. Once I left there, went on up to University of Florida. Once I went to the University of Florida, I played volleyball there. Once I left there, I ended up teaching for a little bit in the elementary sector back here in Seminole County. And then I actually ended up coaching in the collegiate level at Bethune-Cookman down in Daytona Beach, Dell State, Truett-McConnell, and then eventually made my way back down here to Florida to hang out with my fam. And this is where I put my roots down at.
All right. Well, again, we're going to get into that career because it is a very cool journey for you. I'm going to go all the way back to when you were a kid. Now I'm 100 years old. I'm much older than you. For you, when you were growing up, were your parents kind of taking you to little kid soccer games or things like that? Was it just you and the neighborhood kids? What are some of your memories of those early years?
Oh my goodness. So some of my early memories were with my grandparents and my uncles. They played football and basketball at Oviedo. My grandfather, Simon Harper, was actually a coach at Oviedo High School with Ed Kirshner. The late Ed Kirshner, love him, God rest his soul. He was awesome. So I was always at Oviedo High School. I think I spent more time than I could tell you there. And so I was always around athletics. My parents, they groomed me as well. Eventually, once I became a little bit older, I was into basketball. Um, my mom traveled a lot with me. My grandmother traveled a lot with me, as well as my grandfather. And then eventually, once that came to fruition, I got to high school, and of course, I played basketball. But then eventually, I went and played volleyball my ninth grade year, and so that was a change up for everybody, in my family because it always been basketball. And my mom played volleyball back at Oviedo High School when she was younger. So now to see her oldest daughter playing volleyball, it was huge for her. Um, so I ended up playing volleyball, ended up getting a scholarship, and to be quite honest with you, I wanted to play volleyball because I wanted to stop running in basketball. So, with doing all of that, I played volleyball, got my scholarship to the University of Florida, and my grandparents, they were awesome. They traveled so much. We were on the road. My grandparents were on the road. We were home. They were home. My dad and my mom came up and what have you. But I had a great support system and still do to this day.
Oh, wow. That's so great to hear. Now, as you were climbing that ladder, neighborhood, middle school, and on into high school, um, were you always, and these are my words, so don't take them wrong. Were you always, the best player, or was there a moment where, you kind of broke through and said, "Hey, I can play with these people"? What are some of your memories of that transition from, say, rec and middle school to high school and varsity and that type of athletic success?
At the beginning, I was that giraffe trying to find her way around her body, because it was so much length and I didn't know what to do with it. Um, so eventually, once I got my coordination down, I eventually became a really good player, and it was just one of those things. When it becomes a part of you, you then become so passionate about it. You want to make sure that you make every move. I wanted to make sure I knew my drop step. I want to make sure that I get the layup in. I became the person who wanted to lead the team not by words but by actions.
Mhm.
And so it was rocky at the beginning, but then after that, I just took off and eventually became, one of the best players. Not to toot my own horn, but just to say that, regardless of how you start, it doesn't matter because how you finish and what you do through the process is what's gonna negate how you look in the end.
Oh no, absolutely. And this podcast is designed. I'm intentional about you tooting your own horn. So keep on tooting there. Um, Obviously, you had a great high school, successful. We can talk about from the winning standpoint, and we know that the relationships with teammates and coaches, and we know that's important. But now, here's that tooting your own horn. What was that shining moment for you from your memory from high school in athletics? The big game, the championship. What really sticks out for you from those days?
So we always played Mainland High School. And Mainland High School in basketball was our biggest rival all the time, every day, in and out. Gym is packed, whether it's in Deltona or whether it's in Daytona. And there's another woman by the name of Jessica Lawson, and she's a beast. And when we got on the court, that was the showdown of all showdowns in Volusia County. And I enjoyed battling with her. And when we were able to win district championships over her, that was the night I cried because Mainland was the team to beat always. But when we were able to beat her and take her down, it was an honor. And so she's listening. Jessica, you were great. You were awesome. That was one of my living memories, besides playing Faluke Akiradiwo. Besides doing that, you were one of the greatest and awesome, and Sylvia Fowles.
Uh,
So, but she tops it because that was the given moment right there.
I love those stories. I love those rivalry stories. Now, is there any YouTube video of those games up? Can we see those matchups still?
Honestly, I haven't even searched. I'm gonna be honest with you. The only ones I've seen are just the ones from Florida, and that's only because my nephew sends them to me every now and then. But I haven't seen any of those matchups, believe it or not, from back in the day.
All right. Well, that's my homework assignment for you. You need to find some of that video. Let's go and transfer to your college days. Take us through that. The recruiting. Showing up on campus. And again, this is my terminology. Were you the hotshot recruit, or did you have to redshirt? What are those memories that you can share with us?
So I remember, I'll start with my commitment. I remember the day I committed, it was July 3rd, 2023. No, excuse me, not 2023, July 3rd, 2003. And Arlisa Higgins and Mary Wise came to my house in Deltona, and we sat down and we had a conversation, and that was the day that I committed. My dad was not so happy. He wanted me to go basketball. But my mom was super happy, so there we go.
Yeah.
But I went there in 2004. I went early because I needed to do some remediation courses and reading and math and what have you. Um, and I'm gonna be honest with you. It was an eye-opening experience for me because I had never been from home that long, and I showed out. I forgot that I was raised by Katrina Killingsworth and Willie Killingsworth, and there was a moment in time that Mary Wise looked at me and said, "Would you like to go back home to Katrina? Because how you're acting is unbecoming of a Gator." And I was so blown back. I was like, "Please don't call Katrina. That's the last thing I want you to do." um, so it was a great, academically, it was a great transition. Socially, it was an interesting transition. I'm going to be honest with you. So, but it was the most profound thing that happened in my life because it allowed me to transition, but then also mature and grow up all in one summer.
Hmm.
And it forced me to have a different mindset and look at life, because there was a lot of kids who didn't get that opportunity
Right.
to go on a full scholarship and step outside of Deltona, Florida. So yeah, it was a great experience. That summer taught me a lot. It put me in the mindset of where I needed to be. And that year I was humbled a little bit. I did not come in to play middle, as I was told. I came in and I had to play right side. I was coming behind Sherry Williams, who was an All-American, played at our Winter Park and OVA. Um, I was also coming behind Michelle Chapman, who was an All-American. So they were like, "We got right side for you," and I said, "I'll take what I can get at this point." So again, another humbling experience, and I was able to learn a lot from playing another position, but I was also able to learn from the veterans that were there.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. Great stories. I think many of us, many of our listeners, I'm sure, they can relate that, college was, a place where we had a chance to grow up, finally. Very, very cool stuff. Real quick, from those days as a Gator, you shared your high school, victory moment. What was your University of Florida victory moment?
Oh man. Whew. There was a few, but I had to say, um, so there was a player by the name of Brianna Berry, and she passed away some years back, and she played at Winter Springs High School. Um, Knew her, loved her, great, wonderful person. She was a year or two behind me, and so when we got to play each other, she played at Florida State. So now we're playing our big rival. And when we played, we battled, and she was such a gentle giant off the court, but she was a beast on the court, man. Talk about putting the hammer down and what have you. Woo! It's amazing. But um playing against someone who you grew up with, who you got to see, who is similar from your area and what have you, and then even better, playing against the college rival made it even better.
Right.
But I think just seeing that and just knowing that her and I were doing something great for our area was amazing. And we were able to take pictures together. People who were from our communities were there and were able to see this. So it was a profound moment for both of us. But I would have to say, playing that game against Florida State, playing against her, it's awesome. And the net is always mic'd up. Sometimes it's not good to be mic'd up. So the interesting things you might hear when a net is mic'd up, but it was definitely, it was well worth it.
Oh, wow. Again, really appreciate you sharing that story. Hopefully, those are nothing but great memories for you.
Oh yes.
Let's go and take our first break. Once again, our guest today is LaKisya Killingsworth. As you heard, tremendous high school college athlete, longtime administrator, coach, AD, now an assistant principal. We're going to hear more about that and more about LaKisya. But let's take that break. We're coming back. This is the Educational AD Podcast. Hey, we want to say thanks to our good friends at Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. You've heard me say before, probably one of the best purchases I ever made as an AD was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com, schedule that live web demo today. We also want to say thanks to our good friends at Hometown. Hometown continues to set the standard for schools and organizations with their solutions that include things like, well, big surprise, digital ticketing. They're still the number one digital ticketing provider. But how about athletic website construction, fee-free fundraising? The list goes on and on. Whether you're an athletic director, a coach, even a principal, Hometown is going to show you how to save time, raise more money, and bring your community together. That's hometown.com. And don't forget to tell them you heard about it on the podcast. We also want to thank Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, all of our coaches, our student athletes, even our parents just love the Huddle platform. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, and turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com. Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Once again, our guest is LaKisya Killingworth, longtime coach, longtime administrator. Currently, she's an assistant principal at Lake Nona High School in Orlando. LaKisya, you shared your athletic experience and a little bit about growing up, high school and college. Graduation is approaching. Did you know that you were going to go into coaching and being an AD, or did that just happen accidentally?
So I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do. I knew that I wanted to do something with kids. I knew whether it was going to be in education, whether it was going to be in middle school or high school, it was going to be something that was going to pull me in. And a little backstory: my mom worked in Seminole County, and she worked with students. I guess you would say that had troubled backgrounds. So she was always at Excel Alternatives or Journeys Academy or the Jacks or JDC. So I kind of, I guess, picked up where she left off a little bit. um, so my journey took me to Wicklow Elementary in Sanford, Florida, where I was a dean for the little babies in elementary. I know it's discipline in elementary. I know it sounds very crazy, but yes, it's there. And I actually loved it. I got to know a lot of great parents. I got to build a lot of great relationships. You'll be amazed how much relationship building is happens through conflict, believe it or not. That's when you really get to understand people's deepest fears, their cries, their things that they're going on at home that they would bring to school, and then now you get to see the true person, and you get to build relationships off of that to let them know that someone is there to support them. Um, while I was doing that, I was also working with Isaac Raphael, who is like a known volleyball legend throughout the state of Florida. Um, and he was at Winter Springs and he was coaching there. He was also running at the time a club called TVA. So I was able to continue my volleyball with him, coaching there and coaching with TVA. Eventually, Coach Raphael ended up getting the job at Bethune-Cookman University. When he got the job at Bethune-Cookman University, he brought me on as his assistant coach. That was an amazing experience, and I couldn't have asked to be on that journey with him. I learned a lot. It was different from now being just maybe 1 or 2 years removed, and that was in like 2011. So being removed from there, because I graduated in 2008, to then now I'm coaching on the collegiate level was like, whoa, okay, what are we doing here? But because I was still close in age, it was easy for me to give them an understanding of what needed to happen, and especially with middles, because middles, your head has to be on a swivel. Um, so I was with Isaac for 2 years. Once that finished in 2002, yeah, 2013, I had the opportunity to take on my own program up north in the MEAC. Oh, I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
You're
Okay.
good. You're good. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, so I had an opportunity to go to the MEAC, and when I went to the MEAC, I was at Delaware State University. So I got my first head coaching job there, and I loved it. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. First time being up in snow, besides when I had traveled in Florida, but now I'm actually living in snow and at that time my daughter was 3, so it's my daughter. And now we're living in snow. She's looking at me. I'm looking at her, and I'm like, I guess we're gonna rock this out. Planes, trains, automobiles. This is the way we're about to travel. Here we go. Um, so I was there for a few years, and then I took a year off from 2015 to 2016. I worked at Enterprise Car Rental, believe it or not. I took a year off. Just it was a lot. You come into this in profession, and sometimes you second guess yourself. You second guess whether or
Mhm.
not you can be successful at this, and whether or not you can really lead a team. And that's where I was, and that's why I took a year off. I worked at Enterprise Car Rental, And I learned the business side of things. I learned how to build business relationships. I learned how to garner those relationships. I learned how to deal in customer service, and then how to do that behind the scenes paperwork and business and what have you. So then I was able to garner some more tools to the belt, that I wouldn't have normally probably gotten if I didn't step outside of athletics for a moment. Um, so then in about 2016, I decided that I was ready to go back to coaching, and um, I ended up getting a shot at coaching at Truett McConnell University, which is a small NAIA up in Cleveland, Georgia, up in the beautiful mountains. Absolutely was beautiful. If you guys have never been up there, you have to go. Helen is like the place to go. They got the Cabbage Patch shop where you can go and look at the Cabbage Patch dolls and everything where they're originally made right there. Oh yeah, it's nice up there. I was up there, and that's a small Christian college. So then again, now I'm taking all the tools that I've gained on along the way, and now I'm utilizing this in a smaller entity that I could never imagine in my life. And now I'm trying to recruit here. Now try to recruit um diverse students to a small college in the mountains, and trying to convince them, hey, this is where you want to go. And for my first couple of years, I actually did that, and I recruited very well, and we actually came out with one of the best records that school had seen, since its history of creating volleyball.
I want to
So
jump in here real quick. I love how you shared your story about stepping away from coaching and working for enterprise. And I think that is probably, it could be more beneficial. It would be beneficial to a lot more people if they were able to do that in their career journey, is, step away, take a break. You talked about learning about building relationships and learning from the business end. Um, and it kind of answers the question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Um, you went right into, being an assistant coach, and then you got that first head coaching job. What were some things that you found out? The old expression, you don't know what you don't know. When you became a head coach, what were a couple of things that you found out that you didn't know? Oh, this comes with a job?
um the budget is not the same everywhere. The money is just not the same, whereas within Cookman we had a decent pot of money. Delaware State, it was not that. Um Also too, different regions, different recruiting. You're trying to get a set of South kids to come north. That's huge. Especially when you know that they have the ability and what have you, but some athletes will look at it and say, "I'm not coming up there to the snow. What's wrong with you?" So it was a lot, but I think also too, for me personally, I missed my family.
Right.
It was hard. It was really hard because I'm very family oriented. So to pick up and move from Florida to Delaware and not have my mom, not have my dad and my sister, it was a lot. It was definitely a lot.
Yeah, and again, those are things they don't teach you that. That's not in
No.
the coach's manual. All right, so you're back coaching, you're recruiting kids, you're successful. But you made another move. What prompted that?
I was ready to come home. I was ready to come home. I was ready to be at home by my family. My daughter was getting older. At the time, my mom ended up having a burn accident, and so it was more prompted that family trumped me coaching, unfortunately, and it was time for me to come home to make sure that everything was okay, and to help take care of my mom as well.
Hmm. And but you still didn't leave. Let's say the profession. You were still involved. What was your next job stop?
So I went back, I got to Florida, and I went and I interviewed for a ninth grade English teaching job at Seminole High School. And in the realm of interviewing for that, I also then started coaching at a club down here called Power. Um, so when I did that, I got the job. It was a 3-hour interview because, come to find out, the gentleman that I was interviewing with was a longtime family friend. So I ended up getting the job. and I loved it. I taught two sections of ESE English, which were students who had disabilities, but were still in the gen ed setting. I taught journalism, I taught creative writing, and boy, did we get creative with that writing. So we all learned together, the kids and I. We were it was all of our curriculums,
Mhm.
and then after that, the next year. That summer it so happened that Dr. Rodriguez had an opening, like a principalship kind of situation, to where if you really wanted to look at what being a principal was, you could come work with him. So I did that. And at the same time, the AD decided that he was going to step away and go take a football coaching job at Georgia. And so when that happened, I was like, okay, why not? So as I was talking Dr. Rodriguez and what have you, I decided, okay, I'm gonna put my name in the hat. I didn't know how that was gonna be. I didn't know what it was gonna be. I said, well, we're just gonna see and just go for it. Um, I was able to do some research and then put together, a nice resume book of things that could improve, look at the budget, see how the budget could work, see where I could come in, look at the boosters, and basically give them a full layout of what LaKisya could do. And I ended up getting the job. And that was during COVID. So that was fun. So that year, everything went cashless. So now we're with GoFan. So everybody's trying to teach our older folks how to use GoFan. Um, and it was a great experience. Let me just put it like that. But it was a great year.
Well, I'm going to stop here. We're going to take another quick break, but when we come back, I want you to share with our listeners because again, we started the podcast just coincidentally during the year of COVID, and that's a big event. So let's go and take that break, and when we come back, LaKisya Killingsworth, our guest, is going to share her new AD experience, starting out with a little thing called COVID. So we'll be right back. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to thank our good friends at Vital Signs Wall of Fame, which is now going by Beacon Creative Wall of Fame. The Wall of Fame company has been helping schools bring their legacy to life for decades, but now Beacon Creative offers a lot more. Their Spotlight product is a creative content feature that is going to allow you to create compelling stories about your student athletes and then put them on your digital platform, whatever it is you have at your school. We always hear from schools that they don't get to celebrate their students as much as they want to. Well, using Beacon, they're going to create the content for you and you don't have to lift a finger. To find out more, email John. It's John Townsend, but email John, John, at beaconwalloffame.com. You're going to be glad you did. We also want to say thanks to our good friends at Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and let their team turn you into a social media marketing genius. Market and promote your student athletes, your teams, your coaches, your entire program using the tools that Gipper provides, tools and education. Their platform, their templates, all the different things that they're going to show you how to use. It's going to help you post text, images, video, and graphics all over social media to get all of the great things that you're accomplishing as an AD out there in the community. The website is Gipper.com. And as always, don't forget to mention the podcast. We also want to say thanks to our good friends at Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. My assistant athletic director, along with thousands of others, got his master's through the Ohio program. And while they were all earning their master's degree, they also completed 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. And like I said, don't forget to mention the podcast. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. LaKisya, you took our listeners on your career journey and you got back into the game here in Florida after teaching for a little bit. Now you're an athletic director. But, oh, by the way, COVID is hitting. How did you enter into that year? What were some of the things that you did to survive, and not just survive, but to thrive as an athletic administrator under some challenging conditions?
So that year, I I had never seen anything like what we were going through. You had athletes losing their loved ones. We're having to wear masks. We are now walking through having to measure the butt width of each seat to make sure that we have, a third of the seating capacity in our stadium. We're now putting up signs and putting dots on the ground to make sure every person who may stand to get a sandwich or a hot dog is standing 6 feet apart. We're putting shields up so as we're checking tickets, people aren't like face to face, and giving gloves. And it was one of those things that I was just like, oh my goodness gracious, I hope we don't end up doing this for the rest of my time as an AD, because this is crazy. Um, but I would have to say that I was grateful for that experience, because that's when you see how truly profound your community can be, when they're having to support each other. And with us having some losses through that year, it was a rough one. We actually won a state championship that year, in football. And during that year, two of our players ended up losing their parents.
Oh, jeez.
And talk about tears and crying. And it was whew. And we also ended up losing a player that year as well, because I remember that was right at the
Gosh.
beginning of the season. So we had to rally around each other. And one thing I will tell you about the Sanford community is they are wonderful for that. Seminole High School is a community school. It is definitely a community school. And so when we had these losses, you saw, you know, people coming out with food and making sure there was clothing, and making sure that all of the athletes that lost their parents had what they needed. And we really just made sure that the funds were there to support those students, and their families through that transition. And when we won the state championship, I've never seen so many grown men cry, because I was right there with them crying. Because it meant much more than just a state championship. It meant so much more. It was diversity. It was grit. The grit that they showed through all of the heartache, through all of the hurt, through the passing away of parents, through the passing
Mhm.
away of one of our athletes. You had no choice but to say, this is our year, because God was going to shine down on us one way or another. And he did.
Wow. I mean, just for any AD, but for a brand new AD right out of the chute, what a roller coaster of emotions that must have been. Um, so many different places I want to dive into, but I'm going to go in this direction. You'd been at the school as a teacher, so people knew you, coaches knew you, but now, hey, you're the AD, and you certainly people must have known, coaches, if you will, of your athletic background, and that hey, you're not some knucklehead off the street. But how was that as a brand new AD? Still maybe a little bit new to the school and the community. And oh, by the way, a woman. How was that for you coming in and, being the leader, showing them that hey, I know what the heck I'm doing. But also, as you've already alluded to, building relationships. What were some things that you did now looking back to make that happen, make it all happen?
So oddly enough, in Seminole High School, because I was actually semi from that area, because my dad is from that area, and
Right.
a lot of my family is from that area. So majority of people knew me, and I had great respect there. I carried great respect for them. They carried great respect for me. I was the first Black female AD at Seminole High School. It had always been a white male previous, so it wasn't so much the Sanford area that I had to garner respect from. It was more of the district of ADs. that I had to garner respect from,
Mhm.
because of what was used to there before me. Um, so I had to show like I actually knew what I was doing, you know? So the more they got to talk to me, the more conversations we had, the more they understood, like, oh, she really does know how to do this job. Oh, plus a little bit more. Oh, she's really good. And eventually I ended up sitting on the FHSA board of appeals for 2 years.
Mhm.
So they eventually saw me as like a person who actually knew what she was doing. I myself and Jay Getty were the two of the ADs who led the way for getting oh my gosh, it was this program in our county that we could basically upload all of our transcripts and everything to for our students, and Honest Game, that's what it was. So we were
Right.
able to
Uh-huh.
get Honest Game in place, and Jay Getty and I really led the charge on that to get our athletes, so we could better understand the accreditation and the making sure that they had their credits, and just showing them and giving it was another teaching tool for our community so they could see exactly what was needed in order for our athletes to get to college, and where their students were failing and where they needed to be more successful at.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned both of those. Honest Game is they're not a sponsor, but they are a friend of the show. We feature them semi regularly. Jay Getty's one of my good AD friends. We were on the FHSA AD advisory committee for years, and we were the only invariably we'd be the only two track guys there. But very cool. I think I'm gonna see Jay on Saturday. I'm gonna mention I talked to a friend of yours. Um, let's go ahead and talk about. I mentioned roller coaster experience. So the COVID would be the bottom of the roller coaster. State championships and everything else is the top. Um, you left the AD world. Was there? Can you share the reason for that? And we're kind of hinting at our next segment where we hear about your current job. But why did you end up leaving, if I may ask?
I learned that I can do so much more on the academia side, and to help our athletes. Just sitting in that role, I was helping with testing at Seminole High School. I was looking at transcripts. I was talking to counselors. I was learning so much of the role that was so much further outside of athletics that it just intrigued me so much. And I'm like, I can do so much more for our athletes and for other students if I step outside of the athletics world to really dive in and understand what's needed for them academically and then also emotionally. And my big thing has always been ESE. So I love my ESE babies. I love being around them, and they give you the biggest laugh, but they give you the biggest hugs and the biggest joy.
Uh, Again, you talk about impact. I think that's how a lot of coaches become ADs. They think they can have a bigger impact. You took that to the next level, becoming, a school administrator. Let's go and take another quick break. I know that's shocking to our regular listeners, but we are going to come back with more. Our guest is LaKisya Killingsworth, longtime coach, longtime AD, now the assistant principal at Lake Nona High School. We're going to hear all about Lake Nona when we come back. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to make sure we say thanks to Home Campus for their support of the podcast. Home Campus is the official sports administration platform for a number of states, for hundreds of high schools, and even if you use a different platform, you can still be a home campus school. Scheduling, rosters, communication, it's something you're going to use every single day, and their athletic eligibility and clearance platform alone is a game changer. Go to homecampus.com. Make sure you mention the podcast. That's homecampus.com. We also want to thank SnapRaise for their support. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and then been disappointed in the results? Well, I'm telling you, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. We used it at our school with our athletic teams and had tremendous success, and so will you. The website is snapraise.com. Check out all their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it, and it's SnapRaise. Go to snapraise.com to get started. And welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. LaKisya, it sounds like you had a great run as an athletic director, but you felt the tug to, maybe have a greater impact. Why Lake Nona? I mean, obviously it was fairly close, I'm guessing. Maybe did they reach out to you? How did you end up at Lake Nona High School?
So, oddly enough, Dr. Jordan Rodriguez, who's a principal at CIL over in Winter Springs, um, he reached out to me and said, "Hey, it's time for you to step it up. It's time for you to go be an assistant principal. You've gotten your ed leadership degree." And Dr. Gruber said it as well, who's over at Stetson. And I was like, "Ah, okay." He's like, "So how about, he wanted me to come over there first." I said, "I do not do that. No, those are the babies. Absolutely not. I'm a high school girl. That's where I want to stay at." And so he said, "Go apply in Orange County." So, and he told me, he's like, they have an opening. Um, Dr. Padawano, who is a principal leader over there, she's awesome. I'm gonna reach out to her for you and what have you. So I went, I applied, I put my name in the pool, I did everything I'm supposed to do and what have you. And then next thing you know, I get a call for an interview at Lake Nona High School. I go to Lake Nona High School. I walk into the campus. I sit down, and there's five other assistant principals there at the time because there was 4,600 students there,
Yeah, it's a big
and
school.
then Principal Nikki Campbell. Um, this woman, she is a hoot. She is absolutely a hoot. Every principal, I just want to say, every principal I've had has been absolutely amazing and taught me a lot, from Dr. Rodriguez to Mr. Pfeiffer, and then now to Miss Nikki Campbell. Um, and she asked me, one of the questions she asked me, "Who's your favorite rapper?" And I'm like, "I don't, Cardi B." And she's like, "Yes, that's a great answer. That's a great answer." I was like, "Okay, all right. We're on the right train here." And so automatically I could tell I was gonna fit in there and what have you. So I went home and I prayed hard. And I said, "Lord, if it's for me, please give me that job at Lake Nona, because I love those people over there and I think I would be a great fit." And so the Lord heard my prayers, and I ended up at Lake Nona. And my first official start date was March 13th of 2023. And my first day there, I learned a lot. I will tell you this. I thought that Miss Nikki Campbell was pranking me my first year as an AP, because I was over ESE, and boy did we have some doozies. We had some elopers. I ended up over at Bravo. I ended up over at Goodwill getting kids out of bathrooms. I said, "This has to be a joke. This is not the way this is supposed to be." I had a student, that would defecate on himself, and I said, "This is not it. No, this is not what being an AP is." So, but I soon learned that AP actually means all purpose. So you're all the things. um, but that's how I got there. And I've been blessed to have people along the way that truly have invested in me and my journey, and invested in the fact that I truly can be a great leader, um, and have given me the opportunity to continue growing in that capacity. So I've been so incredibly blessed with the relationships I built along the way.
So, I mean, starting, in March, that had to
Mhm.
be, tricky in its own, because you're not there from the beginning. Coming back that first fall, what, how did you know? And again, we never get this way. We never go, okay, I got it made. But how did you know that you'd broken through and now, okay, I'm the AP at Lake Nona?
I would say when I actually had teachers coming up to me and giving me high fives and saying, "Hey, it's great to see you back." All right. And it was funny because I'm all about relationships. So I tried to build those relationships when I got there in March. And you never quite sure if that sticks, because you might offend some people. And I'm not gonna lie, I do have a capacity to offend some people. Don't do it on
Oh,
purpose,
oh.
sometimes probably, but never mean to intentionally all the time, but definitely want to go back and fix that. But the next year, I realized that I had built capacity in those few months that I was there the year before, by really making sure that I was present, that teachers saw me, that they knew that they could depend on me, that if they were having an issue with a student, that I would be more than willing to have a restorative practice with that student and fix that issue with them and the student. Or a parent knew that they can call me and they could vent about the fact that how they're upset with their student, with their child, but then I would also go and have that conversation with them to help the child kind of see the other perspective of being a parent. Um, so when I came back and I saw that, it was great. It was wonderful. And I'll tell you this: I had one parent who got very angry at me and reported me to professional standards, and so it was my first year. I was like, oh, great. All right, I'm getting fired. Here we go. Professional standards. That's my first year. Got to be a record. Here we go. Um, but then I built that relationship out with that student. And, for a week, I took him to class from every period. Just because of the fear, the mom said she had a fear of something happening to her son or what have you. So I made sure to make sure to do that. And when the mother had a stroke, I did call her. I did have a conversation with her, and I said, "Hey, are you okay? Do you need anything? Definitely praying for you and what have you." And throughout the next 2 years that student was there, he would see me, he would give me a hug and what have you. And the last year that he was there, which was last year, the his mom brought me a gift card and 6 crumble cookies, and she came in my office and we sat down and had a conversation. And she goes, "If I knew that me reporting you to professional standards was going to get us to this point of where we have the most miraculous relationship, to where I know that you truly care about me and my son, then I would do it all over again." And I said, don't know how to reply to that, but I think I would say yes, I think, without the professional standards. But um but she gave me a hug and she goes, "I truly appreciate what you did for me and what you did for my son and the fact that you continuously check on me." So I do. I call her at least once a month still to check on her and what have you, because sometimes again, I don't know, my relationship building comes from conflict and challenges, and then I end up having the best relationships with people. And it's not all, but sometimes those are the best ones, believe it or not.
Oh no, those what do they say? Relationships born out of fire are the long-lasting ones. You kind of answered my next question. I was going to say, about you said building relationships with the teachers, and they kind of welcomed you back. I was going to say, how about the students? Did you have any students that say, and I don't know, they call you Miss K or whatever, but high fiving any students that next year back?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, before, like when I first came in, they were like, "Who is this tall woman?" And oh my gosh, she's over disciplined. This is gonna be crazy. And you would see the eyes. The eyes would
Right.
just be so big. And of course, I wear heels.
Hmm.
So I wear 3 to 4 inch platform wedges, and I love them. Yes, I am now 6'7", and I love every minute of it. And my boss, she actually encourages it.
Oh yeah.
So as I'm walking through and what have you, they're looking at me and they're like, oh my gosh, this woman's crazy." So of course now I have to break down those barriers so they know like I'm actually am human, and like I can crack a smile and I can roast you just like you can roast me. And so it's like you build out those relationships, and it's just like now it's just everything is funny, and you just
Hmm.
start laughing with them and joking with them and be like, "Hey, take those ear parts out." And I was like, "Okay, I'm just playing. No, you're good, you're good." So for them, they would be like, "Oh, okay, cool." And they finally let down their hair and let down their guard. And um it became a place like, yes, I'm over disciplined, but I do care about you. And that's one of the things that they finally learned. So oddly enough, the best relationship that I did have was with my kids that I did get to see often in the discipline
Oh
office.
yeah.
Um but yeah, I did. It was some high fives, it was some hugs, it was like, "Great to see you, Miss K." And then there was some like, "Oh, you're still here?" "Yes, I am. Let's rock this year out."
Right. No, and you bring up a great point. I was an AD and head football coach for most of my career, but I was at a private school and I was the dean for 2 of those years. We had gone through like 5 deans in 4 years, and our faculty actually came to me and wanted me to be the dean. They thought my football coach personality was what our school needed. But again, you end up you're dealing with whether it's 10% or 20% of the students that struggle to, follow just the normal rules. The rest of them,
Right.
the rest of the kids, it's pretty good. But absolutely, it's those relationships, great stuff. LaKisya, you are definitely no longer just a guest on the show. You are a friend of the show. We are going to get you back on. I think you're a great resource for our listeners. But we're not done yet. We always wrap up with the athletic director's toolbox. Now, you certainly know your way around the world of athletics, but the toolbox can also be a leadership toolbox as well. We're going to take our final break here from Athletic Surveys, and when we come back, I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new leader. Could be an AD, could be an AP, but going to have you send them out on their first job. But I'm only going to let you put 3 tools in the toolbox. So let's take that break, and when we come back, we're going to see what LaKisya Killingsworth puts in her new athletic director toolbox. We want to thank Athletic Surveys for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment. You know, in my schools, we use surveys for everything, for student athletes, for coaches, especially for parents. And here's the cool thing, the information that would come back on these surveys, almost always over the top positive. Of course, we still got to hear from our squeaky wheel parents, but using the survey, it allowed us to hear their concerns, usually deal with them before they became something big. But that positive feedback, all that data is incredibly valuable, especially when you're visiting with one of those frustrated parents, or maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's Athletic Surveys, and don't forget to mention the podcast. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We've been visiting today with LaKisya Killingworth, longtime coach, successful athletic director, and now the assistant principal at Lake Nona High School right here in Florida. Tremendous background in education, athletics, but right now I'm going to challenge her to send out a brand new leader on their first job, but I'm only going to let her put 3 tools in the toolbox. So, LaKisya, what's going into your new, we can say leadership, new AD toolbox?
So I'm going to use a little analogy on my first one. You're going to have a hammer, but you're going to have a pillow because there's going to be times when you're going to have to drop the hammer on on a teacher or on a coach, and it's not going to feel very good to them. But when they land, you want them to land softly because eventually you're going to have to help them build back up. And what you don't want to do is discourage them so much that they don't feel useful to you or useful to the program or useful to the students to where they can be successful. So, yes, hammer them hard, but then allow them to land softly. So when they land, you're gonna put that hand out there, pull them up, and say, okay, now how are we gonna rebuild? How are we gonna rebuild this vision? What is your vision? What is my vision? How are we gonna mold these visions together? My second tool that I'm gonna put out there is be humble enough to take criticism. I was not always the person who wanted someone to tell me when I was doing wrong. But I'll tell you this, when I became an AD and I allowed the coaches to do an evaluation on me, it taught me a lot. And one of the things they said to me is, you're a great leader, but sometimes we feel like you're disconnected because you're always on the business side. So from there, I had to revamp the way of how I was doing business to ensure that I was getting to know them, and build those external relationships and not so much internal. And what I mean by that is learning, like, hey, there's the coach's wife. Let me go talk to the coach's wife. Let me make it seem personable, and make sure that I was really diving into who the person was, not so much as the coach or the player, but the person. Um, and my last one, give yourself grace because you're not always going to do it right the first time. And you may not do it right the second time, but the third time you will. So give yourself grace and understand that everything is a journey and you're always going to be growing and learning. And the moment you stop learning and the moment you stop growing, that's probably not the profession for you. You probably need to go to a new one. But I can tell you right now, in this moment of where I am enjoying the learning and growing that I'm going to be doing. And I pray that my next vision and my where God is sending me is going to be as a principal in a few years, because I want to continue growing there. And I that's where I eventually want to retire from, is being a principal. So I want to eventually just continue growing and glowing and doing it not only for me, but then also for the athletes. And then I always do everything for the glory of God. So for me, that's how I operate.
Boy, great. You probably saw me scribbling down. Great tools. I love your hammer pillow, analogy there, because you're absolutely right. And your last one, you'll be humble enough. That is so very important. But as you it's so very hard to do. But once you do it, once you break through, it becomes much easier. Great tools. We should have done this earlier, so shame on me, but we're going to do it right now. If one of our listeners wants to reach out, pick your brain a little bit more, maybe find out how you do things at Lake Nona, or just add you to their network, what's the best way our listeners can connect with LaKisya Killingsworth?
They can connect with me on Facebook, LaKisya Killingsworth on Facebook. And same thing on LinkedIn as well, LaKisya Killingsworth. Feel free to send me a message out. If you want to send me an email at Lake Nona, it's lakisha.killingsworth@ocps.net, or sometimes I give my numerical email because my name is so long. It's 142922@ocps.net. So feel free to reach out. I'm more than willing to have great conversations and collaborations, because I might learn something from you in the process of having a conversation about things that you may be going through, or things that you want to pick my brain. I may want to pick your brain. So feel free to reach out in any avenue.
Oh, well, gosh, thanks for sharing. And LaKisya and I connected via LinkedIn, so it shows you that it does work. LaKisya, thanks again for sharing. All the best as we transition, calendar-wise, kind of from fall sports into the winter sports season. Gonna have to get down to Lake Nona and catch a game, since I do live, fairly close, and definitely going to get you back on the podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jake. This was probably one of the most awesome experiences I've had. And thank you for making it conversational based. Like that definitely helped. And I look forward to being back on and having more conversations with you and diving into more, great things. I love these kinds of things.
Oh, okay. Well, again, you made it very easy. You were great. Want to say thanks to our listeners and remind you that we upload the Zoom recordings of every interview to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do this just about every day. We try to share stories from the world of athletics along with some best practices. So please come back and join us again on the next episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time.